Imposter syndrome can be defined as a collection of feelings of inadequacy that persist despite evident success. Imposters suffer from chronic self-doubt and a sense of intellectual fraudulence that override any feelings of success or external proof of their competence. Let's talk about this. What's up, everyone? My name is Jeff, and today we are talking all about imposter syndrome. According to Forbes.com, about 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. This feeling of not deserving to be where you are is unfortunately very common. I'm sure most of you guys watching this video right now have felt like you were in over your head, whether that was in regards to a job, a relationship, or a specific program at school. I myself have certainly had these thoughts plenty of times over the years. For those of you who don't know, I run a personal training business, and imposter syndrome is incredibly common amongst personal trainers and small business owners, of which I am both. When you're a personal trainer, you're in charge of another adult's health, fitness, safety, and to some extent lifestyle. One minute this person is a total random stranger, and the next minute they're counting on you to transform their entire being. This is a lot of pressure. I know that as a young personal trainer working throughout my 20s, I really struggled giving health and fitness, lifestyle advice to highly successful adults who were about double my age. I mean, why the f*** is this highly successful person gonna listen to me? I haven't done anything. Well, now that I'm a lot older and a little bit wiser, I do have a few strategies that I use on a daily basis to keep that pesky imposter syndrome at bay. And if you yourself have ever suffered from imposter syndrome and you value any insight to help deal with imposter syndrome, then I would very much appreciate a like on the video and a subscribe to the channel, because those two things help to support the channel. Thank you very much for the support, everyone. I really do appreciate it. So before we go any further into this video, I want to make it clear that I am not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, or any other medical professional. What I say today is not medical advice. If you suffer from severe imposter syndrome that you feel is having a large negative impact on your life, then the best piece of advice I can give to you is to seek a true medical professional. That medical professional is going to be much more qualified to help you out and give you personalized advice to help deal with your problem. This video will be more useful to the imposter syndrome cases where you, the person suffering, appear to be living a normal life. You're just going about your day today, doing your thing. But in the back of your head, there's always that uncertainty that maybe you don't deserve to be where you are. That feeling that you'll be unmasked at any second and revealed as a fraud. I think I can help you guys out. I have 4 different strategies for dealing with imposter syndrome, which we'll now be breaking down one by one. The first strategy that I have for dealing with imposter syndrome is realizing that you got to where you are for a reason. Whether you're working the job that you feel like you don't deserve, or you got into the school that you feel like you don't belong in, you got to that position for a reason. You may not see that skill, talent, or ability in yourself, but other people did see it in you. Of course, this is where imposter syndrome does come from. Let's take a step back though and consider something. Maybe those people who gave you that position were correct in doing so. Sometimes people on the outside are a better judge of a specific person or a situation because they have no emotional attachment to the situation itself. When you have no emotional stake in the game, it's oftentimes very easy to see a clear solution to the problem. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm sure most of you watching this video right now have had a friend come to you with some form of relationship drama. Maybe their significant other said or did something very questionable, and now that friend is coming to you for advice on what to do. Oftentimes, this friend seems very torn up or undecided on what the best next move for them is. Meanwhile, you're sitting there thinking like, damn, this is pretty obvious. It's time to break up. Or maybe it's not, and that significant other of your friend didn't really do anything that bad, and maybe they're just overreacting. While I think it's a really bad idea to take relationship advice from a personal trainer, in fact, I tell all of my clients to do the exact opposite of what I recommend when it comes to things like this. I think the point that I'm making here still stands. When you're the person in a highly charged situation, whether it's a volatile relationship or a new job, oftentimes you're way too emotionally invested to be a good judge. And just like the friend that couldn't see the obvious solution to their relationship drama, you can't see that you're actually a good fit for the position that you're in. Those who gave you that position might have seen something in you that you're not aware of yourself. And this is because your own perspective of yourself is clouded by emotion and stress. So never forget you got to where you are for a reason, and you might also not be the best judge of yourself. My second strategy when dealing with imposter syndrome is to embrace it to an extent and to also use it as fuel. I think that a small amount of imposter syndrome tendencies can actually be a healthy thing. Let me explain why I think that's the case. To some extent, it's always good to be a little bit unsure of yourself and your accomplishments. This uncertainty can propel you to consistently push forward, learn new things, and improve yourself. Every degree, license, and certification that I've ever gotten, I pursued to improve my knowledge and my skills. If I were perfectly content with my life and current situation, then I would never have a reason to challenge myself and pursue a larger goal. Imposter syndrome is closely associated with perfectionism. And just like with perfectionism, if you can learn to harness some of those tendencies for a good purpose, well, in that case, you can do great things. Possibly the most intelligent human being of all time, Albert Einstein, said, "I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler." That's right, everybody. Albert motherfucking Einstein had imposter syndrome too. In fact, many highly successful individuals like David Bowie, Serena Williams, Natalie Portman, and Tom Hanks all also to some extent currently suffer or have suffered from imposter syndrome. These individuals all clearly excelled in their fields of choice because they were able to harness some of these imposter syndrome tendencies to improve themselves. Of course, you should try to do the same. On that last point, you can let these imposter syndrome tendencies take over a little bit too much, which can then send you into a downward spiral, which is very tough to recover from. So make sure to be careful about that. My third strategy for dealing with imposter syndrome is to think like a non-imposter. Now, I can't really take credit for this one. When I was researching imposter syndrome to make this video, I stumbled across a TED Talk by Valerie Young, which I think gives out some very useful insight. I'll put a link to that video down below for those who are interested. She basically said that the only difference between someone who suffers from imposter syndrome versus someone who does not suffer from imposter syndrome are the thoughts that both of those two people think. This does seem obvious enough. People who don't have imposter syndrome are no smarter or more capable than people who do have imposter syndrome. All they do is view themselves and the world around them just a little bit differently. Non-imposters understand that they can't excel at everything, and they're fine with that. Imposters find it much harder to think that way. Remember, there is a strong link to perfectionism here. So my suggestion to you is to try to use this strategy in tandem with the last strategy, or using imposter tendencies as fuel. Allow yourself to use those perfectionist imposter tendencies to improve yourself, but if you feel like you're starting to move a little bit too far down that perfectionist side, try to bring yourself back a little bit by realizing that you don't have to be great at everything. I find it really useful to have someone that you can trust and also bounce some ideas off of. It's even better if this person recognizes when you're harnessing too much imposter syndrome tendencies, and they can kind of rein you back in a little bit. For me, that person is my wife. My last piece of advice to you is to find a good wife. Nah, I'm just kidding. Although that's good advice, what I would really recommend is that you find a way to talk about your imposter syndrome to others. Like I said in the beginning of this video, up to 70% of people experience this phenomenon. It's incredibly common and normal, and obviously you are not alone in dealing with it. In fact, that's the reason that I made this video in the first place. I felt the need to help out my personal training brethren who deal with this problem every single day. Also, someone on my channel requested it, but that's besides the point. My point is that talking about imposter syndrome helps to normalize it and also reduces the amount of damage that it can cause. So my question to you is, do you suffer from imposter syndrome? If you do, what do you do? Why do you think you have imposter syndrome? Make sure you let me know about all that stuff down in the comments. The more we all talk about this, the better off we're all gonna be. And that's all that we have for today, everyone. Hopefully you did find this video helpful. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because both of those things do help to support the channel and help the channel to grow, which does allow me to make more free content for all of you. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. And until next time, stay sorta healthy.